All right, so today we're diving into something I never thought I'd find so fascinating, the world of wholesale office furniture. We've got RoleCatcher's career guide, and seriously, this goes way beyond picking out desks.
You're right. It's really interesting how this niche industry kind of mirrors that whole global supply chain thing, but with its own unique challenges. Like, you're not just selling a chair, you're part of this whole ecosystem of workspaces and productivity.
Right. And this guide does a great job of laying out the career path, junior merchant, senior merchant, all the way to manager. But before we get into the nitty-gritty, I was thinking about how everyone's talking about work from home now. How is that impacting the furniture world? Are wholesalers struggling, or is it more complicated than that?
You hit the nail on the head with complicated. It's been a real mixed bag, honestly. I mean, yeah, at first, when everyone started working from their kitchen tables, traditional office furniture took a hit. But, and this is where it gets interesting, the smart wholesalers, they saw this as a chance to innovate.
So instead of just trying to sell desks to empty offices, they're like, hey, let's outfit those home offices.
Exactly. Suddenly, ergonomic chairs for home offices, those little soundproof booths for focused work, even collaborative furniture for smaller spaces, that's where the demand surged. These wholesalers, they're on the front lines, connecting the suppliers making this stuff with companies trying to figure out this whole new way of working.
So it's less about pushing a product and more about understanding the needs of this like evolving workspace, right?
100%. And that's where this whole staying ahead of the curve thing comes in. This guide emphasizes that a lot. A good wholesale merchant, they don't just react, they anticipate. They're analyzing market data, they're talking to people, and they're figuring out what buyers need before the buyers even know it themselves sometimes.
So it's almost like having a crystal ball, but instead of predicting the future, you're predicting what kind of desk chair people will want in the future.
And what kind of office setup will make them feel energized and productive, even if it's just a corner of their living room. And that's where those detective skills the guide talks about come into play. It's about curiosity, asking the right questions. For example, say a wholesale merchant sees a rising demand for sustainable furniture.
Which makes sense, right? More and more companies are trying to be eco-friendly.
Yeah. Now, they could just connect those clients with any supplier who slaps an eco-friendly label on their products, but a really good wholesale merchant, they dig deeper.
Mhm.
What materials are being used? How are they manufactured? Are they ethically sourced? They want the real deal, not just greenwashing.
They're not just selling a desk, they're selling peace of mind.
Exactly. And expertise. They make themselves invaluable to their clients. They can talk about sustainability certifications. They can show them the long-term cost savings. They become a trusted advisor.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
They're not just selling furniture, right?
Yeah.
They're selling their knowledge, their expertise.
And that expertise, that comes from constant learning. Remember those trade shows, the industry publications, online forums, all that stuff we talked about. Gold mines for wholesale merchants. Let me give you an example now. So, I was reading this thing about biophilic design, right? And how it's becoming huge in workplaces.
Bio what now? Okay, you're going to have to break that down for me.
Basically, it's all about bringing nature indoors. Plants, natural light, maybe even water, features things that create a calming, more natural environment.
Oh, I get it. So instead of feeling like you're stuck in a sterile office building, it's almost like working in a park. Makes sense people are craving that connection with nature, especially with all the stress these days.
Totally. And a wholesale merchant who's ahead of the game, they'd be all over this. Connecting clients with suppliers who do living walls, finding furniture made from sustainable bamboo, that kind of thing.
It's like they're curating an experience, not just an office. And speaking of understanding what clients want, the guide talks about this whole active listening thing as being crucial.
Oh, absolutely. You can't just walk in with a one-size-fits-all approach. Every client's different. A good wholesale merchant, they take the time to really get it.
So it's about understanding their company culture, what they're trying to achieve with their workspace, their budget, the whole nine yards.
Exactly. Imagine like a tech startup that's booming, right? They need a space that screams innovation, but they're also probably on a tight budget.
So a less experienced merchant might come in pushing the most expensive, top-of-the-line ergonomic chairs, thinking they're doing the client a favor.
Right. But that might not be what they need at that moment. Someone who's really good at this, they'd get that. They'd understand the startup needs a mix of spaces, collaborative areas, individual workstations.
So maybe you suggest those high-end chairs for a central collaborative space where everyone can gather, but then
Yeah.
for individual desks, you find something more budget-friendly, but still good quality.
You got it. You're still meeting their needs, but in a way that makes sense for them. It's a win-win. But that takes more than just listening. It takes persuasion too, you know?
It's like you need to be able to read between the lines, see what the client really wants, even if they don't articulate it outright.
Absolutely. And then present your solution in a way that just clicks with them. That's what makes a wholesale merchant stand out.
This is so much more than just desks and chairs, huh?
Way more. It's strategic. And speaking of strategic, the guide goes into this whole career progression thing, which I found really insightful.
Right, it lays out those different levels, junior merchant all the way up to manager.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see how the skill set changes as you climb that ladder. Starting with the junior merchant, they're kind of like apprentices, you know?
Learning the ropes, getting their hands dirty.
Totally. Helping senior merchants with research, maybe tagging along to those trade shows, starting to build their own contacts.
Like a detective in training.
Love that.
Yeah.
They're figuring out the world of suppliers and manufacturers, understanding pricing, lead times, maybe even getting their feet wet with some small negotiations.
So it's very hands-on, even from the beginning.
Oh, yeah. The guide really stresses that. Internships, entry-level positions, that's where you build the foundation.
And then, when you move up to a full-fledged wholesale merchant, it sounds like you're really running the show, right?
You got it. This is where you put all that experience to work. Finding your own buyers and suppliers, doing your own market analysis, negotiating deals, or calling the shots.
That's a big jump.
It is, but the rewards are bigger, too. This is where you start building your reputation, your network. You start seeing your impact.
And your paycheck probably reflects that, too.
Probably. And if they keep killing it, the next step would be senior wholesale merchant.
Which is where the real leadership comes in, right?
Yeah.
You're not just managing deals, you're managing people.
You got it. You're moving from closing deals to mentoring the people who close them.
So you're shaping the future of the company, in a way.
In a way, yeah, you're building a team, sharing your expertise, making sure they have what they need to succeed. And it's not just about individual deals anymore, it's about strategy. You're looking at the big picture market trends, new opportunities, maybe even thinking about expanding into new markets or trying something totally innovative.
It sounds like you need to be 10 steps ahead of everyone else, like playing chess, but with office chairs.
Something like that. And then the top of the mountain, wholesale merchant manager.
The king or queen of office furniture.
Well, maybe not quite royalty, but pretty close. They're running the whole show, budget, strategy, making sure their team is hitting those sales targets.
From researching suppliers to leading the entire wholesale operation, that's quite a journey.
It shows you there's a ton of room to grow in this field, but, you know, it's not all sunshine and roses. The guide's honest about the challenges, which I appreciate.
Right, because it can't all be ergonomic chairs and smooth-talking clients. Right?
Definitely not. The competition is fierce. New companies popping up all the time, and the market's constantly changing.
Yeah, with work from home and everything else, it's got to feel like you're always playing catch-up.
Tell me about it. And then there's the logistics side of things, the stuff nightmares are made of. Coordinating shipments, dealing with delays, damages, supply chain issues.
Sounds like you need the patience of a saint and a knack for problem solving.
It's part of the job description for sure. But you know what? Those challenges make the wins even sweeter.
Oh yeah, I bet. Landing that huge deal, seeing an office come together with furniture, you'll pick out those. Gotta feel good.
The best. And the guide actually gives some solid advice on how to handle the challenges, especially when it comes to, like, proving yourself.
Right, because you can be the best, but if you can't show it, what's the point?
Exactly. They talk about building a portfolio, case studies of your biggest wins, testimonials from happy clients, hard data on how much you've sold.
So you're not just telling them you're good, you're showing them.
Yep. And that brings us back to those all-important soft skills, communication, persuasion. Those aren't just for landing the job, they're for crushing it once you're there.
It's a people business, even when you're dealing with desks and chairs.
100%. Whether you're closing $1 million deal or just giving someone a helpful tip, it's about providing value.
Well said. This deep dive has been a real eye-opener. Who knew office furniture could be so complex?
Right. It's a hidden world, full of passionate people who are shaping how we work and live.
Absolutely. So next time you're sitting at your desk, take a moment to appreciate the journey it took to get there. And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.